Hello guys, welcome back to AJ Recap Channel. In a garage, Charlie is busy fixing the plane that his wife Sarah gave him for his birthday. Sarah comes in to let him know that she will be leaving soon for a business conference in London. She extends an invitation for him to join her again, but Charlie declines as he has a lot of work to do. Later on, Charlie makes his way to the CIA headquarters. As he heads to the decryption and analysis department, he passes through all the security scanners that he designed and finally settles down to work. Out of the blue, he receives a message from Inquiline, a mysterious individual he has been in contact with for years. As always, they have important classified information to offer him, but this time, Inquiline cautions him that these documents could jeopardize the CIA. Charlie attempts to guess their location, suggesting Istanbul, but Inquiline dismisses him. After that, he focuses on analyzing the material, but surprisingly, even a genius like him struggles to decipher the code. After his lunch break, Charlie returns to his office and receives a call from Sarah, who tells him that she has already arrived in London. However, Charlie is already aware of this because he has been tracking her. Their conversation is brief as he is eager to return to the enigmatic documents. Since he still cannot crack the code, he decides to take his computer to the restricted area, where a more advanced system can help him work more efficiently. It takes some time, but he eventually accesses the information in the documents, which leaves him stunned. These are top-secret government files that reveal a drone strike disguised as a self-deletion bombing was authorized and subsequently covered up. There are news clips reporting 150 casualties, including French Special Forces and Danish Marines. This entire operation was orchestrated by Chief Moore, who was also Charlie's boss. That night at home, Charlie attempts to call Sarah, but she does not pick up, so he leaves her a voicemail. The following day, Charlie arrives at the office and is taken aback to find Moore waiting for him. Moore leads Charlie to O'Brien's office, who has recently become the director. She shares the news that a terrorist attack has occurred at a hotel in London, and Sarah was among the victims. Charlie is in disbelief and insists on calling Sarah, prompting Moore to turn on the television to show him the news report. The reporter details how 4 terrorists stormed the hotel, took 4 hostages, and tragically killed 2 of them. Following this, Moore plays the hotel security footage, which captures the chaos of the incident and verifies that Sarah was indeed one of the victims. Upon returning home, Charlie is met by a swarm of reporters seeking an interview, while the police attempt to keep them at bay. A friend assists Charlie in getting into the house without attracting attention. The next day, Charlie confronts Moore and his supervisor Caleb as he harbors deep suspicions about the events that transpired. He struggles to comprehend how the terrorists could have evaded the multitude of security cameras throughout London, especially considering they navigated through traffic. Moore assures him that an investigation is underway, but Caleb instructs him to go home. The following day, Charlie heads to the airport to collect Sarah's body and her belongings. At home, he opens the suitcase and discovers a gift that Sarah had purchased for him, which triggers an emotional breakdown. Feeling weary of staying at home, Charlie returns to work and utilizes a restricted computer to hack into the security cameras at the hotel and the surrounding streets. He compiles a timeline of the events and presents it to his superiors. The 4 terrorists had stolen a vehicle in the East End before entering the hotel through the service entrance, where they expertly erased all fingerprints and DNA. It seems they had a meeting scheduled with Impact Investments from Indonesia, but something went awry, leading to an argument in the corridor. One of the firm's security personnel became enraged, prompting a terrorist to open fire, resulting in the death of one guard and leaving another in critical condition. Hotel security was promptly notified and they contacted the police. In a desperate attempt to escape without being apprehended, the terrorists entered the conference room and took several hostages. Sarah was taken because she attempted to assist some of the attendants in escaping. Charlie's run voice and facial analysis has enabled him to identify the 4 terrorists. They are Mishka from Moscow, a former South African Special Forces operative named Lawrence, mercenary Horst, and ex-intelligence officer Gretchen. Observing Caleb's and Moore's lack of response, Charlie realizes they were already aware of this information. They inform Charlie that they are already addressing the situation and advise him to see a therapist. The next day, Charlie conceals a chip in his ID badge and successfully passes through security without it. In his office, he prints all the classified documents and employs a skimmer on the printer to create a digital copy. That evening, Charlie visits a bar and finds himself fixated on a jukebox. The next morning, Charlie once again confronts his superiors with the printed documents. He enumerates all of Moore's illicit missions, such as bombing a Syrian hospital and attacking an Allied base in Yemen, which resulted in the deaths of thousands of civilians. He threatens to escalate the matter to the director and discloses that he has activated a dead man switch. If he fails to input a code every 5 hours, the evidence will be disseminated to major news outlets. In return for his silence, Charlie demands comprehensive CIA training, counterfeit passports, cash, a firearm, and information regarding Sarah's murderers. After the meeting, Charlie goes back to his car and vomits due to the stress. In the office, Moore claims that the dead man switch is merely a bluff, but Caleb argues that they cannot afford to take that chance. They will investigate the trigger. If it turns out to be a bluff, they can orchestrate a fatal accident during training. Later, Caleb and his team attempt to figure out how Charlie managed to copy the confidential files. They consider the possibility of a skimmer, which wouldn't function on their secured computers, but could be utilized on a printer. Charlie might have sent the files to the printer and used a magnetic strip to duplicate the data. Upon reviewing security footage, they confirm that Charlie purchased a magnetic strip at a store, but they still can't figure out how he managed to take it in and out of the building. The team also investigates Charlie's house and eventually finds out he visited a specific bar twice. They head to the bar to search it and discover an ABBA CD hidden under the jukebox. Caleb selects that CD from the jukebox catalog, but only noise comes out, so they remove the CD that Charlie left behind. Meanwhile, Charlie arrives at a CIA training facility where Colonel Henderson greets him. They begin at the shooting range, but unfortunately, Charlie struggles with shooting accuracy. He has to get very close to the target to hit the right spot. However, when it comes to bomb making, Charlie works impressively fast, earning Henderson's admiration. Next, Charlie must learn his new identity, so Henderson puts him under pressure, throwing him around to ensure he can still recite his new information even when stressed. Finally, they complete the new passports. That night, Henderson visits Charlie's room and tells him he isn't a killer, but Charlie insists he seeks justice. Then, Henderson pulls out a gun and hands it to Charlie, instructing him to aim at his chest. Charlie's hands tremble uncontrollably, and he ultimately lowers the gun. At the office, the agents spend hours decrypting the information on the CD until they realize that Charlie had been bluffing about the dead man switch. They promptly inform their superiors, unaware that Charlie is eavesdropping on them. It turns out, the chip he activated on his badge was actually a bug he planted on the files he provided to his bosses. Moore quickly calls Henderson, instructing him to arrest Charlie, but he has already made his escape. After hanging up, Moore finally notices the bug on the files and speaks directly to Charlie, accusing him of treason. Charlie discards his earpiece before boarding a plane. Once he arrives in London, he goes through customs and begins his journey to Paris. His fake passport shows up in the CIA systems, prompting Moore to send Henderson after him. In Paris, Charlie rents a hotel room close to the restaurant where Gretchen is often spotted. Eventually, she arrives, and he gets close enough to begin tracking her phone. Charlie spends the day outside her building, waiting for her to leave. When a tenant exits, he seizes the opportunity to enter. Following an online tutorial, he manages to pick the lock of Gretchen's apartment. Inside, Charlie searches the place and snaps photos of her schedule. He discovers a gun in a drawer and decides to take it with him. Just then, his tracker alerts him that Gretchen is returning, prompting him to hurry to the stairs to wait for her. However, when she finally arrives home, he finds himself unable to pull the trigger. Frustrated, he rushes back to the hotel, pretending that Sarah is waiting for him. After he calms down, he examines the photos closely and realizes that Gretchen has been visiting the hospital frequently. By hacking into her health records, he uncovers that she has allergies. The next morning, Charlie buys a large quantity of flowers. He then waits at a cafe until he spots Gretchen and follows her to the hospital. While Gretchen undergoes some tests, the doctor notices a malfunction with the computer screen and steps out to get assistance. Charlie enters the room disguised as a doctor and locks Gretchen inside the machine. She begins to panic, but Charlie ignores her as he fills the chamber with pollen. The doctor and a nurse hear the commotion, but the door remains locked. As Gretchen starts to weaken due to her allergies, Charlie tells her he will help if she reveals where to find Horst, the one who shot Sarah. The allergies prevent Gretchen from speaking, so Charlie opens the chamber, only for her to shove him against the desk. They engage in a fierce struggle throughout the room, hurling each other against every piece of furniture. Charlie pulls out his gun, but Gretchen overpowers him and manages to open the door to escape. A desperate Charlie chases her into the street, but before he can fire, Gretchen is hit by a car. Horrified by the sight of the body, Charlie compels himself to step closer and retrieve her phone. He then flees and discards the lab coat in the trash. Once at the hotel, he cleans off all the blood and packs his belongings. That night, he heads to the bus station and purchases a ticket to Marseille. Before long, the news of Gretchen's death reaches the CIA. O'Brien probes further into the matter, and Charlie only mentions that it seems Gretchen was killed by one of their own. Later that night, Charlie visits a bar and drinks heavily to numb the guilt he harbors over Gretchen's demise. He believes he spots Sarah dancing, but upon closer inspection, he realizes it's merely a woman who resembles her. Then, Charlie sees Henderson making his way towards him, which sends him into a panic. He shoves past people until he finally escapes the bar and races through the streets until he finds another bar to take refuge in. However, Henderson tracks him down there as well, prompting Charlie to dash to the bathroom and lock the door. Unfortunately, there are no windows, leaving Charlie with no option but to exit. He rejoins Henderson at the bar, where he discovers that Henderson located him by tracing Gretchen's phone. After a brief conversation, Charlie shows a timer on his phone and bolts out just before a bomb detonates in the bathroom. Chaos erupts in the bar, and Henderson loses sight of Charlie. The tracker on his phone ceases to function as well. The following morning, Charlie reaches out to the Inquilin for assistance and boards a cargo plane to Turkey. Upon arriving in Istanbul, he visits a restaurant and sends a text to the Inquilin. Spotting a man's phone ringing, he attempts to approach him, but is intercepted by a woman who instructs him to check his phone. Charlie then exits the restaurant, and the woman approaches him once more, confirming her identity as the Inquilin. She is already aware of his wife, prompting her to ask him to conceal his hat and backpack in a shopping bag. The Inquilin requests that he pretend to shop for a while and meet her at a garage. Shortly after, Charlie reunites with her and she drives him to her residence. During the ride, the Inquilin reveals that she became a hacker 6 years ago following her husband's death. He was an asset for the CIA and also worked with Russian intelligence. In fact, he was the first Inquilin and taught her everything she knows. The official narrative claims he fell from a window by accident. When they arrive at her home, Inquilin mentions that this is the only place where she has managed to stay for more than 3 years, and confesses that she is weary of running. If the Russians ever come after her, she has a gun ready to end her own life. They then begin discussing the case. Horst is the one leading the effort to hire mercenaries for additional tasks. Lawrence is an arms dealer, so Inquilin offers to pretend to be an arms seller to get in touch with him. Lastly, there's Mishka, who travels often and shares everything online. They closely examine the photos and spot a woman with him. Facial recognition technology leads them to her Instagram account, confirming that she is in Spain. The following day, Caleb instructs his team to keep an eye on the terrorist to locate Charlie. O'Brien meets with Moore and expresses her desire for him to cease running black operations without her approval. Moore responds that her predecessor delivered the same message, so he will reiterate what he told her then. He assures her of his complete support. After their meeting, O'Brien gets into her car and her assistant shows her a photo of Henderson in Spain. It's confirmed that Moore sent him, prompting O'Brien to dispatch one of her agents after him. Meanwhile, Charlie and Inquilin manage to find Mishka by hacking into the security cameras of a hotel. Charlie then travels to Madrid and checks into the same hotel. He discovers that Mishka enjoys swimming in the pool that connects 2 buildings via their rooftops. At the same time, Henderson tracks Charlie down in the vicinity. The next day, Charlie begins constructing a device that will assist him in capturing Mishka and conceals it within the hotel. After that, he follows Mishka to a bar, unaware of Henderson lurking in the lobby. Charlie notices a suspicious man at the bar and realizes he has seen him before, indicating that he is being followed. He informs Inquilin through his earpiece, prompting her to search his face and confirm that he is a CIA agent. She also spots Henderson on the camera and instructs Charlie to abort the mission, but he insists on following through with the plan. When Mishka heads to the pool, Charlie confronts him, demanding to know where Horst is located. He warns that if Mishka remains silent, the pool will be destroyed. Mishka is skeptical and begins to swim away, prompting Charlie to press a button that causes the glass to start cracking. In a panic, Mishka swims faster, but it's too late. The glass shatters and he plunges to his demise as water rushes into the street. Shortly after, Inquilin alerts Charlie that Henderson and the other agent are closing in and provides him with escape directions. A chase breaks out, and Henderson nearly catches Charlie, but at that moment, the other agent intervenes. The man tackles Henderson, and they engage in a brawl in the laundry room. Charlie observes as they hurl each other around the space, with Henderson forcing the man's head into a washing machine. The agent draws a gun and shoots Henderson, only for Henderson to wrestle the gun away and shoot him in return. Charlie enters the room, contemplating whether to assist them, but Inquilin urges him to flee. The following day, O'Brien brings Moore to her office to inquire about Charlie. Moore informs her that Charlie is on bereavement leave and allows him to leave before disclosing that she has footage from the hotel. Meanwhile, Caleb and his team review the same footage and realize that Charlie had assistants. They examine Charlie's encrypted messages and eventually uncover the communications from Inquilin. After an extensive search, they find the file of the deceased agent known as Inquilin and deduce that his wife must have taken over his role. That night, Charlie and Inquilin decide to sleep next to each other for companionship. However, they are abruptly awakened by the screeching of Inquilin's birds and notice a group of agents approaching on the security cameras. The duo quickly navigates through a concealed tunnel in the wall, and as they exit, Charlie spots a drone overhead. By slipping into another building, they manage to continue their escape, leaving the neighborhood just moments before the agents burst into the house. The computer is already in the process of erasing all the files, leaving nothing behind for them to find. After sprinting down the beach, the duo reaches Inquilin's car, but the drone catches sight of them. Soon, the agents pursue them, firing their weapons and even chasing them on a boat. After a lengthy pursuit, the agents succeed in damaging the car enough to bring it to a halt, and Inquilin suffers a fatal injury. With no other option, Charlie pushes Inquilin's body to the other seat and takes control of the vehicle, determined to keep driving until he finally evades his pursuers. Later, he parks the car in the garage and bids Inquilin farewell with a kiss. The following day, Charlie reaches out to Lawrence, pretending to be an arms dealer to set up a meeting. Charlie then purchases new electronics and heads to Romania. In the deserted building, he records his own face and hacks into a security feed in Berlin. This leads the CIA to believe he is in Berlin, prompting them to send their agents there. When Lawrence finally arrives, he discovers a ringing phone on a chair. Charlie instructs him to look inside a box where Lawrence finds a collection of bombs. If he makes any sudden movements, they will explode. As Lawrence spots a photo of Sarah in the box, Charlie appears behind him, inquiring about Horst's whereabouts and promising to deactivate the bombs if he complies. Lawrence reveals that Horst operates in Russian waters and usually receives shipments at a Baltic seaport. Charlie then asks how to get in touch with Horst, to which Lawrence replies that he only receives messages through secret codes from his associates. All the relevant numbers and names are stored on his phone, which he throws to the ground. After picking up the phone, Charlie exits and hears the bombs detonate, killing Lawrence in the adjacent room. Soon after, the CIA learns of Lawrence's death in Romania and realize they have been viewing fabricated footage. Later, in a Russian hotel, Charlie envisions Sarah by his side as he unwraps a gift. It's a puzzle that he quickly solves, revealing a heartfelt message from his wife inside. The next morning, he heads to the port and spots a suspicious vehicle. He sends the code to Horst's men and notices a man by the dubious car checking his phone. Charlie follows the individual and captures images of his boat before departing. After purchasing some tools, he returns to the hotel and tracks down the yacht associated with the boat by looking up its registration number. He also examines the sea routes that Horst might be utilizing. The following morning, Charlie approaches the boat, but someone knocks him out from behind, causing him to drop Sarah's puzzle. He is taken aboard the yacht, where he finally encounters Horst, who has discovered the bomb Charlie had previously activated. Horst realizes that Charlie has indirectly caused the deaths of others and doubts his ability to confront someone directly. He hands Charlie a gun and urges him to take action, but Charlie is unable to do so and sets the gun down. Suddenly, the yacht begins to turn in the opposite direction, causing the crew to panic. Charlie reveals that he has taken control of the yacht, which is operated by the CIA. Since he was involved in developing the protocols that safeguard this yacht, hacking into it and redirecting it to Finland was a simple task for him. Soon, the yacht is encircled by the Finnish Navy and Interpol, who promptly arrest Horst and his associates. Sometime later, O'Brien holds a press conference to announce the arrest of all the corrupt agents who have exploited the CIA's resources for unlawful activities. Charlie is approached by Henderson, who expresses pride in Charlie's accomplishments. After paying a visit to Sarah's grave, Charlie returns home and finally takes the plane for a ride. Make sure to subscribe and enable notifications so you can catch more videos like this. Thank you for watching.